Hey guys, so just on my way to the local grocery store to pick up a couple ingredients for my meal prep this evening. So tonight I intend on making both a seafood dish as well as a butter chicken dish. So two very simple recipes that you can incorporate into your diet. And you know, I just find meal prepping definitely saves a lot of time, especially being a medical student. Time is something I don't really have the luxury of having at the moment. So I find it really is a time saver, and typically, you know, I'll do meal preps one day of the week, and that'll last me for, you know, lunch and dinners throughout the week. So it is nice to get a bit of assortment into your diet as well. So tonight I'm going to be focusing on two easy recipes you can incorporate and, you know, make it home yourself. So thank you so much and stay tuned. Hey guys, so just got back from the grocery store and bought all of the ingredients that I need to meal prep the two dishes that I have planned. So right now I'm going to walk you through it. So the first dish is a butter chicken dish, and the second dish is just a seafood dish. So for the seafood dish, I've selected both salmon and shrimp prawns to use. So grab your favorite chalice and let's get cooking. Okay, so these are all of the ingredients that you'll need. So I'll put the link of all the ingredients down below in the description. But essentially, just to quickly run you through it, we have a clove of garlic, an onion, just a cube of chicken bouillon. So chicken stock, have medium curry powder, and this was because they didn't have the garam masala at the Tesco store that I went to. I have some fresh ginger, some paprika, fenugreek, hot chili powder, ground cumin, a little bit of tomato puree, a lemon, some Greek-style organic yogurt, and natural flavored. I also have some almonds and some chicken breasts. So for the carbohydrate for this meal, I also have decided to go with basmati rice. And this is actually a really big time-saving tip that I found. So basically, they sell rices like this, where you can just heat them up in the microwave for about 90 seconds. And it does make, you know, delicious rice. So obviously, if I had more time on my hands, I would be cooking rice on the stove. But this is a great alternative a great and speedy alternative. Okay, great. So the first step for the butter chicken is I'm going to make the marinade. So for the marinade, you're going to grab a couple of your ingredients. So you're going to grab your paprika, you're going to grab your hot chili powder, you're going to grab your ground cumin, as well as your lemon, one fresh lemon, and your Greek-style organic yogurt. So it doesn't have to be Greek-style. I just decided to go with Greek-style because I find it tends to have a little bit of extra protein content in it. But just make sure that whatever yogurt you're going to go with, you select a natural flavor for the butter chicken. Okay, so for the marinade, I'm going to start out by adding in 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. So it's about 2 teaspoons. Next up, I'm going to add in about half a teaspoon of hot chili powder. So I'm kind of eyeballing it, but ideally if you have, you know, measuring cups, you can use that too. I just cooked enough. I've got an eye for how much a teaspoon is, how much a tablespoon is, and that's just really something you'll pick up as you, you know, improve your cooking skills. So next up, I'm going to take my paprika and I'm going to add in about 2 teaspoons of paprika. Great. So next up, I'm going to open up my Greek yogurt here. Greek yogurt. And I'm going to add in roughly 250 grams, so about half a container like this, for the marinade. So, there we go. I'm going to mix that around just to mix all of the spices together. So you see this is going to make a nice rich and creamy marinade for the chicken. It's going to be quite tasty. So you can see all the spices almost turn the marinade slightly pinkish here, which is what we want. So next up, I'm going to grab my lemon and I'm going to add in the juice of 1 full lemon into my marinade. Okay, so I've added in the juice of 1 full lemon into my marinade. So the next step is really just to mix it around and make sure that it is it has an even consistency. So yeah, this is going to make a really delicious marinade for the chicken. You can see the texture there. There we go. It's got a nice pinkish color to it. So next up, this looks pretty good to me. I'm going to set it aside, and next up I'm going to cut up my chicken. So essentially you're just going to take your breast and you're going to cut it into very thin strips. So as you can see, I've cut up all my chicken, and I have my marinade here. So the next step is to marinate the chicken. So you can just take either, a bowl of some kind, or an even easier option is just to use a Ziploc bag. And I'm just going to pour the marinade into the bag. Get all that goodness in there. Super. And next up, I'm just going to add in the chicken. Now the benefit of using a bag is it's really easy to mix and make sure that there's an even coating on all of the chicken with the marinade. So there we go. Awesome. I'm just going to wash my hands and then I'm going to mix up my chicken, which will then go into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. Alright, so while the marinade and the chicken are chilling in the fridge for the next about 30 minutes, we're going to make the curry for the butter chicken. Okay, so for the curry, I'm going to take my 2 chicken bouillons and I'm just going to put them into a pot. So next up, I'm just going to mix it around. So I'm going to mix all this chicken broth together, just so it's ready to go for when we need to use it. Great, I'm going to set that aside. So we're just going to fry up these onions until they're soft, and if you just take if you could smell this, it is so fragrant with these spices. It just smells absolutely delicious. I'm so excited to taste this butter chicken. So we're just going to mix that up nicely. And if you see that the onions are, turning a little bit too dark, you can always turn down the heat as well. At the end of the day, we just want to soften them up at this stage. So while the onions are cooking, I'm just going to turn my attention to my chicken broth here. And essentially, I've turned it on to just a low heat, just to start warming it up. And I'm going to add in my tomato puree. So I'm going to add in about 3 tablespoons of the puree. And I'm just going to mix that around like that. There we go. And as the broth heats up, the tomato puree will mix in quite nicely. So we're just going to let this all sit, and I'm going to continue to soften up these onions. And the aroma is just building. It's so lovely. Okay, so now that my onions have softened up, I'm going to take my marinated chicken and I'm going to add it directly onto the pan. There we go. And I'm just going to mix that around and make sure that the onions are evenly blended with the chicken. And I'm just going to turn down the heat slightly. There we go. So I'm going to let that cook. To provide you with a quick update, I ended up splitting the chicken into 2 pans just so it cooks a little bit more evenly because I did have quite a bit of chicken. So the next step, essentially, we have a look at the chicken. It's quite fragrant. And essentially I've cut open a few pieces and they're no longer pink, which is a great sign. So they've been cooking on medium heat, I'd say, for about 10 to 15 minutes. So next up, I'm going to add in just the tomato puree and the chicken broth. I'm going to mix in about half to each of the pans. So I'm going to take it, just going to pour it in. Perfect. And I'm just going to mix these around. And you can see it added quite a bit of liquid back into it, which is fine because the chicken is just going to absorb all of it. It's going to make for a really juicy butter chicken. And a lot of the liquid in this will end up evaporating anyways. So anyways, I'm going to let this cook for, I'd say, about 5 to 10 more minutes. And then we should be done with the butter chicken. So as you can see, the butter chicken ended up making quite a few meals. So there's only one meal left to make, and that one's for dinner. Great, so I'm just going to take that rice, and for the butter chicken dish, I've decided to pair it with basmati rice. So for the meal prep options, I've decided I'm going to just cook the rice as required, so when I need it. So really I'm only storing the protein option. So without further ado, I'm going to plate my rice here. There we go. And then I'm going to take the rest of the buttered chicken and just add it to the top. Add a bit of the juice there. So there we go. Butter chicken. Okay, great. So I'm going to be giving my butter chicken just a bit of a live taste test here, so bear with me. Okay. No, that is quite excellent. So it's a lot juicier than I anticipated it would be, which is fantastic because it really brings out the flavor of the chicken. And typically I find with chicken it's so easy to overcook it, so it's really nice when you can get a nice juicy cooked piece of chicken. And the flavor is, right on par with a butter chicken that I've tasted in various Indian restaurants. So no, overall I'm very happy with this dish. very happy with this recipe, and I'm definitely going to be cooking this again. So yeah, that's it for the butter chicken. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Cheers. So next up, we're going to be covering the seafood dish, which is going to be composed of the salmon and the prawns. So stay tuned. Okay, so for the seafood dish, I've just started by adding in some butter to 2 different saucepans. So essentially 2 different saucepans, just because we are going to be cooking quite a bit. We want to make sure that that heat is evenly dispersed, so that way the meat thoroughly cooked. So as you can see, I've prepped both my salmon fillets. I have 7 fillets. And just the prawns that I'm going to be using. And these prawns just came pre-marinated. So yeah, I'm just going to wait for the butter to melt, and then I'm going to add in both the salmon and the prawns pretty equally into both pans. Great. So, just going to mix that butter around, and I'm going to add in the salmon fillets. So I have 6 fillets here, and I'm just going to take my prawns and just add half into this pan and half into that pan. Great, I'm going to go wash my hands. Great. So I've turned up the heat a little bit, and next up I'm just going to add a couple spices. So first up I'm going to add some onion salt to both pans. Sprinkle that over, just like that. Then I'm going to add some garlic powder to both pans. There we go. And last but not least, I'm going to add some dill. Awesome. So next up, I'm going to add in just a bit of white wine. And I find the white wine just really helps keep the salmon nice and juicy, and it really complements the seafood quite nicely, and it also assists with the cooking because, you know, the liquid will evenly disperse around the meat and provide essentially equal heating throughout the meat. So I'm going to add in just a splash of white wine to both of my pans. And you can already hear that nice sizzle from the wine and the butter. Oh, it's just going to be outstanding. So I'm going to let that simmer. I've turned up the heat slightly, and we're going to let it simmer and cook. Okay, great. So I'm going to give them one more flip here. So as you can see, they've developed a really nice, delicious golden brown color. So that's exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to flip this one, just like that. And this is going to be actually the last flip. So I'm going to flip this pan here, at least for these salmons. This salmon, as you can see, the stovetop is a little bit smaller, so it's not cooking quite as quickly. But these guys here are definitely done. So I'll get a zoom in so you guys can see what it actually looks like. So you can see the nice golden crispy top there. So that would really indicate that the salmon has finished cooking. And meat is one thing, you know, I always like to cut open a little piece of the meat just to see if it actually is finished cooking. And you can see here that there's no longer any pink. So these salmons are definitely done. So I'm going to take these off the heat, turn off the heat completely. These guys are ready. These guys need a few more minutes here. So we're going to let them simmer and cook, and I'm going to store these into Tupperwares for meals later this week. Okay, so I'm going to do a live taste test just for the salmon dish. So I'll try some of the salmon. And for this one, I paired it with jasmine rice, actually. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, what do you expect? Butter, seafood, and white wine. Like, it just doesn't get better than that, to be honest. So, excellent, excellent. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I definitely do enjoy my seafood, just crisp a little bit more. As you can see, it's a little bit light brown, so it's got a nice crispy layer. You know, the butter flavor, the spices, especially the dill and the garlic, really all complement each other well. The white wine really just added some extra dimension and depth to the flavor profile. So overall, I'm very happy with this. And you know, you've got very healthy omegas in salmon, so it really is an excellent dish. So anyways, I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning into my channel today. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel and, you know, tell your friends about it. Comment, give me your feedback. I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on Instagram, follow my adventures at ztrembz, and I'll link all of my social media accounts down below. Anyways, I hope you guys found this useful, especially if you're a student or someone that, you know, enjoys meal prepping. It really is this time saver. It really does, you know, I would say saves a minimum of 6 hours a week. On dinners alone, not to mention, I guess, lunches too, so I would say it saves me, you know, a good 12 hours a week of meal prep, and just overall time savings. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and, you know, cheers to loving yourself, and thank you so much. See you next time.